Welcome to Channel 17, the Town of Colonie Government Channel.
Hi, I'm Supervisor Paula Mahan, and welcome to Colonie Connect. Today I'd like to introduce you to our special guest, John Frazer. John is our Superintendent of the Water Department. And welcome, John.
Thank you, Paula.
It's great that you could be here today. We have a lot going on in the town pertaining to our water system in the town. So it's your job right now is pretty active. Lots going on.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Tell us a little bit about your background, how you came to the town of Colonie to work for the Latham Water District.
Before that, I've been with the town for about 14 years. Came in December of 1995 as the district's water engineer. And then in 1999, the previous superintendent retired, so I took over as superintendent at that point. Prior to 1995, I was in private engineering consulting with a firm locally, spending about 11 years with them. And I have a Bachelor of Science degree from the Rochester Institute of Technology in civil engineering.
Very good. Okay. So when you were at RIT, were you in that program where you do an internship someplace? Where'd you do your internship?
In fact, I was with Clough Harbor.
Clough Harbor?
The local engineering firm, and they kept me on when I graduated from college.
Great. That's great. I know some people that went to RIT and they had those types of experiences with the internships, which seems to work out pretty well.
It's a great way to get experience.
Yes. Okay, so for all our young engineers out there, hopefully they're listening. Now, we have the Latham Water District, and a lot of people get confused as to what exactly the Latham Water District is. We call it one of our enterprise funds, and so can you explain exactly what we mean by Latham Water District?
Yes, it's also known as a special district in that it has a special function or service to provide to residents of a town. It's established under town law, and in our case, we're functioned with providing drinking water to the residents of the district. The district does not include the entire town. It's an administrative boundary, but it does not include the entire town at the present time. In fact, it only covers about 2/3 of the town of Colonie. But it's our job to provide drinking water to those residents that are in the district.
Okay.
And when you're in the district, it means a couple things. One, all of our customers get a water bill for water used.
Yep.
They have water meter in their house, and the water that passes through the meter, they're responsible for paying a water bill. In addition, when you're in the district, you are also paying an ad valorem charge on your January tax bill that covers the debt of the district, the cost to build and upgrade treatment plants, to install water mains, issues like that the district has to maintain. So there is a special meaning to being in the district. And when you're out of the district, you don't pay an ad valorem, but you pay a higher water rate to make up for the ad valorem that you're not paying and still getting the service that everybody else is getting in the district.
Okay. And is there, what is the reasoning behind 2/3 of the town being in the water district and a third not?
No, as I said, it's a district established to provide a service.
Okay.
So we don't have a lot of large tracts of undeveloped land in the district.
Okay.
All the areas that are in the district are generally developed. Usually we'll have many new, as you know, there are many new subdivisions coming before the planning board. As they're approved and as the facilities, the water mains, hydrants are installed, those areas are brought into the district. So again, the district boundary changes. In fact, it's changed 159 times in its history, beginning back in 1929.
Okay, so the district was formed in 1929.
To serve the hamlet of Latham, hence its name, the Latham Water District. And then, as I said, over the years, since 1929, the district has expanded its boundaries 159 times. And we still don't cover the entire town, but we take on those small areas as they are developed.
Okay. A lot of changes in those years.
Yes.
Many, many changes. Okay, well, you've answered our questions as to who it serves and when it was formed. Now, the main source of our water supply is the Mohawk River.
That's correct.
And do we have, what are other sources?
We have 3 sources total. One is the river. Our primary source is the river. We also have a series of 5 drilled wells along the river that provide water as well, and the Stony Creek Reservoir up in the town of Clifton Park.
Okay. And do any of these, obviously you have to treat the water, do any of these differ in quality?
They all, absolutely, they
Okay.
certainly do. The wells are perhaps the easiest to treat. However, because they are so close to the river, they're considered under the influence of the river and have to be treated with the river water. They have a higher calcium content than the river water. The river water has a little bit higher concentration of organic carbon. Some of the leaves and tree branches that fall in the river create a carbon. So there are different water qualities. And the reservoir, because of its location and its watershed, has even some other quality issues that have to be managed as well.
Okay. All right. Now, I was in thinking of the typically how the water's treated. What would be the process that we go through?
The life cycle of a drop of water?
Yes.
Okay.
That's
It falls in the
that's a
river.
good way to put it.
And we have an intake along the river, and we bring the water in to the treatment plant. And if we are using all 3 sources, we combine all 3. If we're using just 2, we combine them.
Okay.
All of our sources are combined at the beginning of the treatment plant. And then we add some chemicals to the water to create a bigger flock, and I'll explain that in just a bit. So we add the chemical, the water comes into the treatment plant, and we rapid mix it, which means that we now mix the water. We want to force it together with all the chemicals that we've added to bring that, the solids that are in the water together.
Okay.
We bring it into our sedimentation process. It's at that point that we've now got all those little pieces of material that come in with the raw water. We now have created a little bit bigger material,
Okay.
and they want to settle out. They want to fall to the bottom of our basins. So that's called our sedimentation process. The water after the sedimentation process goes through a series of 10 filters
Wow.
that we have at the treatment plant. And then as a final step, we add caustic soda to it to raise its pH, and chlorine to it to make it safe to drink.
Okay. So it's quite an involved process and very scientific.
Yes, it is.
And so, you know, it's interesting to see all of the science come into play with it. People, when they turn on the faucets to get water, they don't think about what we have to go through so that the water is at the quality that we're looking for, and the taste, and that it's safe to drink, all those types of things. So it's really very, very involved.
And that's just the treatment plant. Then we have 410 miles of pipeline that the water has to pass through to get to our residents.
Right, right. So, as I said, it's a very involved process, and when we turn the water on, we should be very grateful for the great water we have here in the town of Colonie. And I know that you recently won, Latham Water District won, the Albany County Water Taste Test.
Yes, we did.
Can you explain how this test was set up? Because I believe people just come in off the street and taste the water?
The test is run by the Albany County Health Department, and they invited any community within Albany County to participate. 5 communities did participate, and Latham Water was selected as the best tasting water of the 5. I don't know if you could call it scientific, but probably water tasting is not necessarily scientific, more subjective.
Right.
So they had passersby on State Street sample each of the 5 waters from the different municipalities and rate, I think from 1 to 5, their favorite. And the higher score, 5 being the best, and the higher score, 1 total score. And we were tied with Albany for firsts, but we had more seconds than Albany did. So we ended up winning the taste test for the county.
Well, congratulations to
Thank
you
you.
and the whole water
And all
water
the
department
employees.
staff
Yes.
for doing such a great job. Now, do you have the opportunity to go to a higher level of this contest?
We do. In fact, on August 14th at the Alive for 5, there will be a regional taste test. So all the winners in the region, broken down by county. So there will be representatives from Rensselaer County, Saratoga, Schenectady, and some other outlying counties. We'll all get together, and there'll be a taste test Thursday, the 14th, at 14th?
That's this Thursday.
Thursday at the Alive for 5 concert. And the top 2 from that test will move on to the state championship, if
Okay.
you will, at the state fair. in Syracuse.
Well, I hope you guys make it.
Thank you.
So,
We're looking forward to it.
very good. Now, you talked a little bit about how the water, what you do to make the water safe to drink. And in the town of Colonie, do you know how much water on average the residents consume over a year?
We pump about 3 billion gallons of water a year. That has been dropping over the last few years with the wet seasons that we've had in June and July. We were upwards of 3.5 billion gallons probably 4 or 5 years ago. But with the wetter season, because water use is generally based on weather conditions,
Right.
people drink more bottled water, they take more showers, they fill the pool more often. But now that we've had all this rain, those water uses aren't necessary
Right.
as often.
Okay.
So our pumping rates are down. We're down to about 3 billion gallons a year now.
Okay. Yes, and there's that connection with the weather and the amount that's consumed. So that's very interesting. Now, we have an annual flushing program, and I know you always announce that to make sure our residents know when that's going to occur. And during that program, what could the residents expect?
Okay. The purpose of the flushing program is to stir up the water and remove some of the sediment that develops within the old cast iron water mains that make up about 60% of our system. So we want to stir that up and remove that. However, we're working in the early morning, late evening time period, generally between 10 and 7 in the morning. We can't always get all of the stirred up water out of the system that we managed to stir up the night before. So there will be some discolored water from time to time in the areas around which we have been
Right.
flushing. The flushing program runs from basically the last week of March through generally the end of May.
Okay.
The last couple of years, though, we've had to go into June to make sure that we worked every hydrant in the water system.
So during that time period, and I know you put the notice out, people often see the water's discolored.
Yes.
And that's the reason why.
The water remains safe to drink. It's really just the iron deposits creates the brown or red water.
Right.
That's in the iron from the water main is okay, is safe, and we still have a chlorine residual in it, or a certain amount of chlorine that makes the water safe to drink. It's just a little bit discolored.
Right.
And some people don't necessarily like to drink that colored water, but it is safe to drink.
Okay. And now I know we see the water department out there different times of the year, a lot in the winter with the water breaks, which is a big part of their job, difficult part of the job.
Yes.
Often working out there in, really cold weather. So are most of the breaks in the winter?
They are.
Because of the cold.
We have about 150 water main breaks a year. Some years are worse than others, depending on the cold. It seems that the colder the weather, for lots of different reasons, the frost, the colder the weather, the deeper the frost gets into the ground, and since most of our water mains are in unplowed or plowed streets, the frost runs even deeper in the street. Also, it seems that the water temperature itself, we store it in several water storage tanks above ground, so the water has a chance to cool down even more, and it seems that it makes those old cast iron mains just a little bit more brittle. So like a pretzel stick, they just kind of snap. And that's when we have all the problems that we have. And generally that is December, November, January, February.
Yeah, it's a
are
tough
the worst
time of the year.
months. It is.
It is.
And obviously it creates an unsafe situation. If the water main isn't repaired, we'll have an icing situation.
Yes.
So our guys have to go out immediately and effect the repair.
Yeah, and they do an excellent job. I know a lot of times they're out there in the middle of the night trying to get things repaired.
It would be nice if water mains broke between the hours of 8 and 4 every
Great.
Monday through Friday, but it doesn't happen that way.
Can't put our request in.
That's right.
Well, now I know I want to save a little bit of time because we have a major project going on in the town with the Latham Tanks relocation project. So if you could give us an overview of that project, the time length, the timeline, the costs, and why we're doing it. That would be really helpful so our residents could understand what that whole project is about.
Why don't I start with that, with the
Okay.
why we're doing it. The airport many, many years ago decided that the Latham tanks, the checkerboard tanks that everybody sees near exit 6 of the Northway, decided that they were a hazard to the approach to the east-west runway. In fact, that's why they're painted checkerboard, and that's why they're so noticeable. That was the intent. And our records indicate that somewhere back in 1976 or so is when those tanks became an obstruction and were painted checkerboard. The Airport Authority got some grants through the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, to undertake a project to remove those tanks. That began in earnest in about 1999, when Latham Water, in conjunction with the Airport Authority, hired an engineering firm to study the impacts of eliminating those 2 tanks from the Latham Water District system. What would it mean hydraulically? What would we have to do to replace those tanks if they had to, because they had to come down? So when they come down, what would have to be done to augment their input to the system?
Okay.
So over those 10 years, it was studied, and we decided that that would require a new tank in the south end of the town,
Okay.
off of Hunts End Lane. It would also require about 4,000 feet of 24-inch main to go from that tank on Hunts End Lane up Fairview Road, up Colonie Road, up Upper Loudon to an existing 24-inch water main we have. And then another part of the project would be about 13,000 feet of 36-inch diameter ductile iron pipe water main from our treatment plant located on the river south to about the area of the Latham Retail Center, the intersection of Old Sparrowbush Road and
Right.
Sparrowbush Road. So the project has been underway since last year. We broke the project into 6 different phases.
Okay.
Phase 1 of the project was awarded and has been under construction since last summer. In fact, the contractor is just testing that water main as we speak, now that he's ready to move on to the next phase. So he's got to complete phase 1. Phase 2, 4, 4.1, 5, and 6 were all awarded last month by the town board, as you know.
Yep.
And that was all funded with the ERA money,
Yes.
the stimulus money
The stimulus money.
from the federal government through the FAA and the Airport Authority.
Okay, so the total cost of the project was about 11 million.
11.4, yep.
And the stimulus money is picking up the portion that's left, which is about 6.7 million.
Right.
Okay, which is great.
Yes.
And that will allow the money that the Airport Authority was going to spend on this to go into making improvements in the airport itself.
Right.
So
right.
that's a double benefit for those of us that are living in the town. Now, part of this is upgrading the water main system. And that will benefit us and bring us well into the future with upgraded infrastructure.
That's correct.
And so we should be in pretty good shape as we go through
We should.
the future.
We've always known that we needed another large diameter water main to move water from our treatment plant to the middle portion of the town.
Yeah.
That 36-inch water main done under this project offers us that ability now
Okay.
that we didn't have before, plus the 24-inch that I talked about on Colonie, Fairview, and Upper Loudon roads replaces some aged water main that we would have had water main breaks with, I'm sure, over the long term, that we don't have to worry ourselves or concern ourselves with now into the future. And the new tank will be replacing 3 old water tanks. The original one, established for the Latham area way back in 1930, soon after the district was formed, will be coming down. The one that was the bigger checkerboard tank, which was built in 1964, so now that's 45 years old. We won't have to worry about maintaining that. And then the Ross Court tank in the south end of town, which was also a early 1930s vintage tank, won't have to be repainted or rehabilitated. We're going to take that down as well. So the new tank replaces some old tanks that we're not going to have to maintain anymore.
So this entire project, as it's put together, it really covers a lot of the things that we were going to have to do no matter what. So it is a great benefit to us, and the stimulus money is certainly helping with that as well. So
Yes.
that's a good thing. So we have a timeline of how long for this altogether?
The project contracts that were let last month have to be completed by October of 2010.
Okay.
So then soon after that, the 3 tanks will be coming down, the 2 at Latham, the 2 checkerboard tanks, and then the Ross Court tank
Okay.
will also be demolished. So we will probably be done with this project in early 2011. There's a possibility we might be done in 2010, but probably in 2011.
So this particular project is bringing jobs to the town of Colonie to work on this project, but it's also going to bring jobs to the airport because they're going to have some stimulus money to, or some money that was going to this project that they can make some improvements at the airport. So it's
Right.
going to bring jobs to the area from both ends. And
Right,
that's-
the airport authority usually gets grants, AIP or airport improvement grants from the FAA. With the stimulus money, they don't have to put their AIPs into this project.
Right.
They can put it into their own projects
So
on
that's
site.
good. So it's a win-win for everybody.
is.
That's great.
Yep.
And thank you for all the hard work that you've done on this. I know this has been, you know, a long haul for you, and it's come to reality now.
It has.
so
It'll be nice to see the project when it's done.
I'm sure you're very excited to see the end date of this.
Yes.
And but it is a great benefit to the town, to the residents. Now, how about for 2009, the rest of this year? Any other major projects that you're working on?
No, from time to time, we like to take on our own water main replacement projects, and we've decided to take one on Clifford Avenue
Okay, it was off of
in
Route
Latham.
2?
Yes,
Off of Route 2.
correct. So we'll be replacing that old water main with a new 8-inch diameter water main, basically from Day Street all the way up to Overlook.
Okay.
So we'll be doing that with our own crews.
Okay.
So that's a little bit different approach than we're taking with
Right,
the Latham
right.
Tanks project, which is being done by outside contractors. We're going to use our own crews to do this kind of work. And I think generally they like to do that. Gets them away from the fix the emergency right away,
Right,
and
right.
lets them create something or build something. So I think they like the idea of doing that. So every once in a while we take one of these projects on.
That's good. That's good. And we, you know, get certain parts of the town updated
Right.
and upgraded, I should say,
Right.
as we go through. And it is a huge town. We cover over 56 square miles, and on a day-to-day basis, we don't often think about where our water comes from, or you know, how it's purified so that it's safe to drink and a good quality, and all these types of things that you deal with on a daily basis. So once again, thank you for everything that you and your staff do for the town of Colonie and the Latham Water District. We really appreciate that. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Any other interesting facts that you want to tell us about the Latham Water District?
I don't think so.
All set? You covered a lot. You covered a lot. So thank you very much. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
And for all the great work that you do. And thank you for tuning in to Colonie Connect.